Today we confront a silent peril, one that devours the powerless without mercy. Why is it that a poor man is seldom respected, even if virtuous? Why does society trample the one who shows his struggles openly? We will solve this cruel puzzle, why you must never look poor, even if you are. In every age, men have been divided not by their true worth, but by the appearance they carry before others. To look poor, even in moments of truth, is to confess weakness in a world that hungers for dominance. It is not the honest heart that survives, but the cunning mask. Perception, dear listener, is the invisible crown men wear upon their heads. It matters not what treasure lies in your chest, nor what wisdom flows in your mind. If the world does not see it, it may as well not exist. This is the cruel theater of life, where the play is judged not by truth, but by the costumes worn upon the stage. And in this theater, to look poor is to be condemned before you even speak a single word. When a man enters a hall dressed in rags, with shoulders bent and eyes lowered, the world has already written his role. He is weak. He is of no consequence. He is one who must follow rather than command. His true soul may be noble, his intellect sharp, yet all of this lies hidden beneath the veil of his appearance. Men are not guided by reason, but by sight. They look first, they judge instantly, and only rarely do they search deeper. Thus, to look poor is to surrender the very battlefield upon which power is contested. Consider this: wealth is not merely coins and gold. Wealth is perception, the belief that you command resources, influence, and strength. When others believe you possess it, doors open, voices grow respectful, and alliances come forth with eagerness. But when others perceive you as poor, those same doors close, respect turns to mockery, and allies vanish as though you carried a plague. It is not your reality that matters. It is the image you present. And therefore, to look poor is to betray yourself into the hands of contempt. Think of the court of princes. A man who arrives with modest clothing, with the air of someone scraping the floor of fortune, will not even be given an audience. His words will carry no weight, even if they are the words of prophecy. Yet another, clothed finely and bearing the signs of prosperity, even if his purse is empty, will be heard, obeyed, and followed. Why? Because the eyes of men are deceived by what they see, and they respect only what they imagine to be powerful. Perception alone grants him the authority the poor, looking man can never grasp. It is not a matter of vanity, but of survival. In the market, a merchant who looks prosperous is trusted with larger transactions, for men believe he has the means to ensure security. A merchant who looks destitute is given only scraps, if anything, for men fear he may vanish or fail to honor his word. The difference is not in their skill, but in the perception they project. Men want to attach themselves to strength, not weakness; to fortune, not to misery. To look poor, therefore, is to repel opportunity as if carrying a foul stench. Perception molds power like a potter molds clay. Even the most ordinary man, by clothing himself in symbols of strength, by speaking with confidence, by moving with authority, may command more respect than a wise man dressed poorly and speaking timidly. This is the paradox of society. The illusion of greatness is often more effective than greatness itself. And this is why it is dangerous, even fatal, to look poor. Think of soldiers on the field of war. Would they follow a general who looks uncertain, whose armor is broken, whose horse is thin and ragged? Never. They would scatter like sheep, convinced their leader is already defeated. But the same men, under the command of a general dressed in gleaming armor, upon a strong steed, standing firm as if fortune itself were his ally, they would march into death itself, believing themselves invincible. Nothing has changed but perception. The poor-looking general is abandoned, the rich-looking one is obeyed. Thus is the power of appearance. And yet, this lesson extends beyond kings and generals. In the daily affairs of ordinary men, the same law rules. A worker who arrives neatly dressed, who carries himself as though he belongs in higher company, will be noticed, promoted, and trusted with greater responsibilities. His colleague, equally skilled but appearing shabby, will remain invisible, discarded as though his labor has no worth. Society rewards the mask, not the man beneath it. Even friendships, even love, are poisoned by this truth. For how often does one see affection lean toward the one who looks successful, who appears to have a future, while the poor-looking man, though perhaps more faithful and more worthy, is ignored. Men and women alike wish to tie their fortunes to rising stars, not sinking ships. And so, if you wear the image of poverty, you will find yourself abandoned, even by those who once saw loyalty. Perception is the silent law that governs human affairs. It whispers in the hearts of men, guiding them to respect, to fear, to trust, or to despise. And it is merciless. For while you may cry that truth and honesty should matter more than appearance, the world does not care for your cries. It does not judge by truth, it judges by sight. And what is seen outweighs what is real. Thus, to appear poor, even if you are not, is to chain yourself in the prison of weakness. Men will not ask what treasure lies within you. They will only see the empty surface. They will not seek to know your strength. They will only measure your clothing, your bearing, your presentation. And having judged you weak, they will treat you as weak. In the theater of power, perception alone writes your role, and once written, it is near impossible to escape. Among the harshest truths of human existence is this: weakness does not invite mercy, it summons predators. To show yourself as vulnerable is to declare open season upon your life, your labor, and your dignity. The world, though it often cloaks itself in words of compassion and kindness, is governed by the same law that rules the wild. Those who appear weak are prey, and those who appear strong are hunters. And so, to look poor, to display fragility, to wear your struggle openly, is to beckon the very forces that will consume you. Consider the wolf pack. They do not chase the strongest deer in the herd. They seek the one that limps, the one that falters, the one whose weakness can be seen. It is marked by its frailty before the hunt even begins, and thus its fate is sealed. So too is it with men. They are drawn to exploit the ones who look defenseless, the ones who reveal their lack of power. A poor appearance, a posture of submission, an image of scarcity. These things mark you like blood in the water, and the sharks will gather quickly. Weakness is attractive to those who wish to dominate. The merchant sees a poor-looking customer and thinks here is one I can overcharge, for he lacks the strength to protest. The rival at court sees a man who looks fragile and concludes here is one I can destroy with ease, for none will rise to defend him. Even friends may turn into predators, borrowing what they will never return, exploiting loyalty, and abandoning you when your weakness is no longer useful to them. It is not malice alone that drives them, but the simple instinct to take advantage where advantage is easy. And nothing is easier than preying upon one who has already displayed weakness. To look poor is not simply to be judged. It is to be targeted. Those who wish to rise will step on you. Those who wish to feed will devour you. Those who wish to mock will use you as their jest. Weakness breeds not sympathy, but audacity in others. They will dare with you what they would never dare with the strong. They will test limits, demand more, strip you of what little remains, because your appearance tells them you cannot resist. And if you cannot resist, they feel justified in their cruelty. Even in politics, the same law reigns. A ruler who shows weakness, who allows himself to appear poor or indecisive, is not rewarded with patience from his enemies. No, he is surrounded by them more quickly, each eager to carve away a piece of his authority. A prince who falters in the face of difficulty invites rebellion, but a prince who cloaks his weakness, who appears resolute even when fortune has deserted him, keeps the wolves at bay. The display of strength, whether true or not, holds enemies in hesitation. The display of weakness unleashes them without fear. Imagine a household where the father walks bent, his clothes tattered, his demeanor apologetic. His children learn not respect, but disregard. His neighbors see him not as a man of dignity, but as one to whom demands can be made without fear of consequence. Even the state may treat him more harshly, extracting taxes or burdens with the knowledge that he cannot resist. This is the fate of the weak, of those who look poor. Their very lives become a pasture for others to graze upon, until there is nothing left. And yet, one must understand that the predators of men are not only individuals, but entire systems. Society itself preys upon weakness. Banks charge the desperate more than the wealthy. Employers work the poor harder, knowing they cannot refuse. Laws are written to preserve the strong, while the weak are left entangled in snares. None of this is hidden, none of it accidental. It is the natural order of a world that respects only strength, and thus to show weakness, to display poverty openly, is to surrender to that order without a fight. But consider the opposite. When a man cloaks himself in signs of power, when he looks strong, prosperous, untouchable, predators hesitate. They calculate risk. They fear retaliation. Even if he is poor beneath the surface, the mere suggestion of strength guards him better than any weapon. Men, like wolves, will choose easier prey. And so, the illusion of strength becomes a shield, while the display of weakness becomes an invitation to attack. Remember this: predators are not born only in the wild. They walk in markets, sit in offices, gather in councils, and live even among friends. They look for signals, for signs of who can be taken advantage of, and who must be respected. They rarely gamble with the strong, but they feast without hesitation upon the weak. Therefore, the man who looks poor, who appears defenseless, is already marked before any word is spoken. His fate is not chosen by his heart, but by the weakness written upon his appearance. Weakness breeds predators, and predators breed ruin. The man who cannot conceal his poverty will be consumed by those who see him as nothing more than a stepping stone, a victim, a resource to exploit until he is broken and discarded. Wealth, though men chase it with endless hunger, is not always what it appears to be. The gold coins that clink in the purse, the houses of marble and stone, the estates and lands, these are but the outer garments of fortune. Yet what truly governs men is not the substance of wealth, but the illusion of it. To seem wealthy, even when one is not, is to command the respect, the obedience, and the fear that real wealth itself would bring. And to look poor, even when one is not, is to lose that respect, and to surrender authority into the hands of others. Consider the man whose purse is empty, yet he clothes himself in fine garments, speaks with confidence, and carries himself as if fortune smiles upon him. When he enters a hall, others rise to greet him. They measure him as a man of consequence, and they treat his words as worthy of weight. None ask to see the inside of his purse, for appearances alone convince them. Now compare him to a man who has coin, but dresses in rags, who walks timidly, who speaks as if apologizing for his existence. Though his wealth may be real, men will treat him as a beggar, for wealth unseen is wealth unrecognized, and wealth unrecognized is no wealth at all. The illusion of wealth is often stronger than wealth itself. This is because men are guided not by truth, but by what their senses tell them. If they see strength, they believe it exists. If they see fortune, they believe it to be endless. And if they see poverty, they believe it beyond remedy. The poor man who flaunts his poverty is thought incapable, even if his mind is sharp. The man who hides his poverty and paints himself with the colors of fortune is thought capable, even if his coffers are bare. What is believed shapes reality, and thus the illusion of wealth creates power where none exists. Imagine a court where ambassadors from foreign lands arrive. One enters dressed plainly, his carriage modest, his demeanor humble. Another enters adorned, his entourage impressive, his manner proud. Who will the prince listen to? Whose words will shape policy? It will not be the man of truth, but the man of illusion. The prince, like all men, is swayed by what he sees, for men would rather follow what looks mighty than what merely claims to be so. Thus the illusion of wealth gives power greater than the reality of poverty ever can. This principle rules even in the marketplace. The shop adorned with shining windows, polished counters, and the appearance of abundance will draw the crowd, even if its goods are of no greater quality than its rival. The rival who looks poor, though his goods may be finer, is abandoned, for men think, if he looks so miserable, his trade cannot be trusted. Wealth as a reality matters little. What matters is the illusion of it. Men desire to be associated with those who seem successful, because they believe success breeds more success, while poverty breeds only ruin. The illusion of wealth also protects a man from insult and danger. When you appear prosperous, men hesitate to offend you, for they fear the influence you might wield. They fear that your wealth can buy vengeance, allies, or justice. But when you appear poor, insults come freely, exploitation follows swiftly, and even enemies who once hesitated now press their advantage. The wealthy man, or even the man who only appears wealthy, is treated with caution. The poor man, or the man who appears poor, is treated with disdain. It is therefore not necessary to truly be rich. It is necessary to look rich, to cultivate the symbols that convince others of prosperity: dignified clothing, composed speech, gestures of confidence, even small displays of generosity. These things create an aura of abundance, which men interpret as wealth itself. They will not see the hunger you conceal, nor the debts that weigh upon you, if the image of fortune is strong enough. In this sense, wealth is a performance, and he who performs it well reaps its rewards. Even in love, even in friendship, the illusion of wealth governs. A man who appears prosperous attracts loyalty and affection, not because his heart is truer, but because men and women alike wish to bind themselves to rising fortunes. A man who appears poor, no matter how kind, finds himself abandoned. The world seeks to ride the chariot of fortune, not to drag the cart of misery. And since most cannot tell the difference between real fortune and the illusion of it, he who appears wealthy gathers allies, while he who appears poor gathers only solitude. The illusion of wealth also creates opportunities where none existed. A man who looks prosperous will be invited to councils, asked for advice, and trusted with responsibilities. Doors open to him because men assume he has the means to fulfill great tasks. Once inside those doors, he may turn illusion into reality, using the respect he has won to build actual wealth. But the man who appears poor will never be invited, will never be given the chance, because men assume he has nothing to offer. His reality may remain hidden, but his appearance condemns him. Therefore, wealth is not always gold in the purse, nor land in the countryside. It is the power to persuade others that you are favored by fortune. It is the illusion that convinces men you are untouchable, desirable, and strong. To lack this illusion, even if you secretly hold riches, is to walk unarmed among enemies. To possess this illusion, even when your purse is empty, is to walk shielded by the fear and respect of others. Wealth is an illusion, but it is an illusion that shapes reality more forcefully than truth itself. Respect, though every man desires it, is rarely given for the truth of one's character. It is given for the symbols one wears, the signs that convince the eyes of others that fortune has blessed you. The world does not peer into the heart, nor does it weigh the substance of your soul. Instead, it bows before the symbols that suggest power, wealth, and status. A crown is only metal, a robe is only fabric, yet men kneel before the crown and robe, as though they contained divinity. Respect follows not the man, but the symbols he carries. Think of how armies march beneath banners. A piece of cloth, painted with colors and emblems, transforms ordinary men into fearless soldiers. They fight, they kill, they die, not for the cloth itself, but for what it symbolizes. Remove the banner, scatter it into ashes, and the army weakens, for its spirit was bound not to reality but to a symbol. So it is with men in all walks of life. They attach their respect to the symbols they see, and whoever bears those symbols receives their loyalty. Whether or not he truly deserves it, a man who dresses in fine garments is instantly measured as one of authority. He may be a pauper beneath those clothes, yet the fabric alone commands reverence. Men assume prosperity when they see polished shoes, tailored coats, and a steady gaze. Another man, equally intelligent and perhaps more virtuous, arrives in shabby attire, and though his words are wise, they fall upon deaf ears. Why? Because the absence of symbols blinds men to the substance within. Respect follows the coat, the jewel, the ring, not the unseen virtue. In courts of power, symbols are everything. The prince sits upon a gilded throne, wears a crown, holds a scepter, all objects with no power of their own. Yet without them, he would appear as nothing more than an ordinary man. With them, he commands armies and laws. His authority rests not upon his flesh, but upon the symbols that magnify him before the eyes of his subjects. Men bow to the scepter, not to the hand that holds it. And so, when one seeks respect, one must first gather symbols, for without them even strength is overlooked. Consider religion. Men kneel before altars, kiss relics, and trust in sacred garments. These objects themselves are powerless, but they symbolize the divine, and so they summon loyalty and awe. The lesson is plain. Men are moved more by appearances than by truth, more by symbols than by substance. If you wish to be respected, you must display the signs of fortune and power, for men rarely respect what they cannot see. Symbols need not be grand to be effective. A well-spoken word, a composed demeanor, a gesture of confidence. All these too are symbols, invisible yet powerful. The man who enters a room upright, with steady steps and a calm expression, is given more respect than the man who shuffles in nervously. Though neither has yet spoken, the difference lies in symbols. One carries the sign of self-mastery, the other carries the sign of defeat. Men read these signals as though they were written laws, and their respect follows accordingly. Even in commerce, symbols dictate value. A merchant who sets his goods in a fine shop, with polished counters and shining lamps, may sell common wares at high prices. Another merchant, with better goods but a poor display, will struggle to sell at all. The goods are real, but the respect is not given to reality. It is given to the symbol of prosperity. Buyers are drawn to the sign of wealth, believing it guarantees quality. In this way, symbols create value where none exists, and destroy value where it is hidden. In daily life, the same truth reigns. A man who drives a carriage that gleams, who dines in public with ease, who carries himself as one accustomed to command, receives respect from strangers, neighbors, even rivals. His true fortune may be borrowed, his purse empty, yet the symbols he displays act as a fortress. Meanwhile, a man who works tirelessly, who perhaps possesses more real wealth, but who dresses poorly and moves timidly, receives no respect, for he has failed to clothe himself in symbols. Respect is a currency, but it is not earned by truth. It is purchased by symbols, and once respect is given, opportunities multiply. A man respected is trusted, obeyed, and invited to circles of power. He may use these opportunities to transform illusion into reality, to turn symbols into substance. But the man without symbols is left outside the gate, knocking endlessly, unheard and unwanted. His reality, however grand, remains invisible without the signs that force others to see it. Symbols also protect. A soldier decorated with medals is treated as a hero, even if his deeds were common. Men fear to insult him. They hesitate to challenge him, because the medals symbolize strength. Another soldier, braver perhaps, but without such decorations, is dismissed as ordinary. Symbols draw the shield of respect around a man, while their absence leaves him exposed to insult and scorn. This is why the wise conceal their poverty beneath the veil of symbols. They understand that men do not respect the naked truth. They respect only the signs that suggest truth, the garments that dress it, the tokens that dramatize it. He who understands this law moves through society with authority, commanding respect at every turn. He who ignores it is trampled, no matter how worthy his heart may be. Survival, in the realm of men, is not granted to the honest, nor to the virtuous, but to the cunning. The world is not a stage where truth is rewarded. It is an arena where masks determine victory. To show yourself as you are, stripped of protection, exposed in weakness, is to invite destruction. Men believe in fortune, in strength, in wealth, and if you do not possess these things, you must at least appear to. For survival does not demand truth, it demands deception. To deceive is not to lie in the vulgar sense, it is to shape the perception of others, so that they see what benefits you, not what betrays you. A poor man who confesses his poverty aloud, who reveals his empty pockets and hungry stomach, gains no sympathy. He gains only contempt, exploitation, or pity, which is worse than hatred. But the poor man who conceals his hunger, who walks with dignity, who clothes himself in borrowed grandeur, may command the respect that his reality would otherwise deny him. In this way, deception is not sin, it is shield. It is the art by which the weak protect themselves against the cruelty of the strong. Think of the fox, which survives not by brute strength, but by cunning. It hides its weakness, it deceives its hunters, it creates illusions of escape until it vanishes. Without deception, the fox would perish at once. Men who are not lions must be foxes, or else they are nothing. For predators will not spare you because of your honesty. They will spare you only if you deceive them into believing you are dangerous to touch. The man who looks poor, who makes his struggles plain, places a target upon his back. The state demands more of him, rivals dismiss him, even companions take advantage of his need. But if this same man deceives, if he presents himself as prosperous, as untouchable, then those same predators hesitate. They ask themselves, is he backed by allies? Does he hold hidden resources? Will he retaliate if I strike him? And in that hesitation, he secures his survival. Deception breeds doubt, and doubt is the armor of the powerless. In courts and councils, deception is the language of survival. A prince may suffer loss, yet he must never display it. His treasury may be empty, but he must continue to hold festivals, to march soldiers in bright armor, to appear unshaken. For the moment he reveals poverty or despair, rebellion festers, enemies sharpen their daggers, and allies vanish. By deceiving the world with the appearance of fortune, he buys time, he sustains loyalty, he maintains control. Thus even rulers survive not through truth, but through the careful art of deception. You must also see that men are not eager to be deceived, but they are willing to accept deception if it flatters them. They want to believe in strength, in prosperity, in stability. They prefer illusions that comfort them over truths that unsettle them. Therefore, when you deceive others by presenting yourself as strong, you are not imposing upon them. You are giving them what they desire. They want to respect you. They want to follow you. They want to admire you, but only if you look worthy of it. Deception creates the image they long to see, and in return, they grant you survival, even in common life. Deception is the foundation of survival. A worker who feels uncertain must conceal it behind confidence, or he will be discarded. A merchant who suffers loss must present his shop as thriving, or customers will flee. A soldier who trembles must keep his posture firm, or his comrades will break. In each case, the reality is hidden, and deception preserves life, dignity, and opportunity. Those who insist on showing truth, who bear their weakness for the world to see, are consumed swiftly, for society is merciless. Deception is not cowardice, but wisdom. The man who deceives protects himself until he is strong enough to reveal truth on his own terms. To cloak yourself in strength when you are weak is not falsehood, it is strategy. For if you reveal weakness too soon, you are destroyed before you can ever recover. The wise conceal, the foolish confess, and the world punishes confession with ruin. It is also true that deception multiplies itself. Once you begin to project prosperity, others believe it, and in believing, they help you to create it. A man who looks successful attracts patrons, investors, and friends. Their faith, built upon his deception, brings him opportunities that may transform illusion into reality. But if he had revealed his poverty, none would have aided him, and his poverty would have remained eternal. Thus, deception not only ensures survival, it builds the path to fortune. Survival has never been a matter of justice. It is a matter of appearances. The lion survives because it appears terrible. The peacock survives because it appears magnificent. The man survives because he appears wealthy, strong, and unshaken, even if inside he trembles. To deceive is to play the role that the world demands you play, until the role becomes your reality. And if you refuse this game, if you expose yourself without mask or armor, then you become the feast upon which others dine. Thus we return to the truth that governs all men and all ages. The world does not reward honesty of condition, but the mastery of appearance. To look poor is to surrender before the contest even begins. It is to invite contempt, exploitation, and ruin. Power follows perception, weakness summons predators, wealth is a performance, respect clings to symbols, and survival itself demands deception. He who understands these laws may walk safely even in poverty, for he cloaks himself in fortune's mask. He who ignores them will be stripped bare, no matter how noble his heart or how sharp his mind. Remember well, the stage belongs not to the honest actor, but to the convincing one. And in this stage called life, you must never look poor, even if you are.